And it's that expectation then that keeps us going and underlies strive, or as it says here, incentive. So you have an incentive to keep going. Now, the reason this is all important is we used to think it was all about reward. We used to think that what really mattered was, did the person get a reward or not? But it turns out that it's the expectation of reward. So that when we get into the clients we work with, if they expect a reward, either when they're working with us or when they get back into, let's say, the classroom, or if it's an adult, when they get back into a work session or back into their home environment, if they expect it to be a beneficial experience, then that will outweigh the expected effort that goes into working on it. And this scale here is a great way to think about therapy, but it's also a great way to think about the benefits of therapy as well. In therapy, we have to weigh incentive and expected reward and effort for our clients all the time and keep that in balance so that they can put out the effort and not be deterred, but still be able to expect a reward either in our session or when they go back into the real world. But I can make it really hard, as you would have in a Stroop test, by actually having the word itself written in a different color. And I'm supposed to ignore the word entirely and just name the color. And I'll try to do this with you now, but that's going to be quite a bit harder. So I'm going to go blue, red, yellow, tan, green, red, blue, green, yellow, tan, tan, yellow, red, green, blue. And I don't know if I got them all right, but the two things that you will realize when you do that yourself, or if you did it with me, is that you slow way down and you're more likely to make mistakes. Now, does that mean I wasn't paying attention? No, I was paying very, very careful attention, but the task was a lot harder. So why were we slower to respond and less accurate on the second set of words? And did that mean you weren't attending? Conflicting stimuli interfere with attention, but don't necessarily cause a lack of focus altogether. So I was focused, I was attending, I was working very hard at that task, but the conflicting stimuli interfered with that. The speed of response decreases when increased focus is required. So it's not an either-or phenomenon. The child isn't either attending or not. The adult isn't either focused or not. The speed of response will decrease and the effort will go up. And you actually attended to two stimuli at one time, color and word, a form of divided attention, but force yourself to focus on one and ignore the other. And that's an important attentional skill. And that skill is response inhibition. And that's a major component of what we have with self-regulation. It's an executive function skill, it's an attentional skill, but tied very closely to self-regulation. A great approach is Tigers. Tigers stands for taking the initiative to get ready for school. Every single weeknight, they put everything in that folder that they need for the next day and put the folder right by the door. So it's there when they walk out the door in the morning. Can be really helpful. And I'll do the same thing when I'm working with patients who've had head injuries, if they're going to any kind of vocational activity or avocational activity. What do you need to think about that and have a folder ready with what they need? They might need their driver's license. They might need some identification of some kind. They might need some cash. They might need directions. They might need other kinds of things that they don't forget, their glasses, whatever. Some other supports that can be helpful for our students who have executive function difficulties and self-regulatory problems is before we do a task with them, do a warm-up. So if I'm working on a language task or a reading task, have a warm-up where they get to read anything they want for the first 2 minutes when they come in. So anything that they want, they can read a cereal box, they can read a cartoon, and they get to do that for a minute just to warm them up. And then once they've warmed up, it's that old adage, well begun is half done. Once they've done that, it doesn't seem so frustrating for them or so difficult for them to get into the tasks that they have, that I have. And then as a speech language pathologist, having $10 words each session, which are new words that students learn. I try to have them read them if they're old enough, but new words that they may not have heard before or they may not be familiar with, and we act out the word, and it's our special word, and we keep a list of all of those words and continue to review them and talk about them, and it makes words important, so I think that can be helpful.